I feel her hands, and she was already cold. So it's like, man, my baby's gone.
For the first time, we're hearing from the family of Mia Campos, the pregnant teen brutally murdered less than a mile from her home.
When I saw her, I kind of knew that she got killed.
And now, the 16-year-old's ex is charged in both her murder and the murder of her unborn child. Do you believe he is the one who killed your daughter?
Yes, yes, I believe so 100%.
Now, we're hearing about the moments Mia's family found her body and the alleged killer's reaction.
But he was just standing right there. I didn't see no emotions. I didn't see no anger. I didn't see no crying. And I was like, something's not right here.
Plus, a former Georgia prosecutor's reaction to the case and predictions for the future.
Let's be honest, there are evil people in this world. Sometimes with evil people, that kind of obligation is enough to be a motive for murder.
July 14th started as a normal day for Mia Campos, a 16-year-old girl who lived with her family in Loganville, Georgia.
My wife, she spent almost all Sunday with Mia. They went to the mall. They went to eat breakfast. They went to eat. And then, I mean, they came home like normal, but they spent all day together and everybody was happy.
That's Edward Campos and Miriam Zarate, Mia's parents. I sat down with them to learn more about their daughter.
Well, her personality was like she was happy all the time. She liked to dance. She likes music. And she went to school for artists, from school for a little bit when he was 4 or 5 grade, but when she grew up, she was more into the music because back in my day, I used to be a DJ. So she was following my step and she played a couple of, here in Atlanta, a couple of times, like a birthday, like a quinceañera. And she was really good. I mean, she was a happy girl. I mean, she didn't have no problem with nobody. So she was a good person. She had a good heart.
Though Mia was only 16 years old, she was already 7 months pregnant.
Well, we found out when she was pregnant. My wife, she was the one she got pregnant. First, we was kind of upset because 15 years old. It's like it's normal. It's not normal for kids, to get pregnant at that age. But I was angry. I was upset. But 2 months later, when I see the belly, is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, I just fell in love with my grandchild, and I told her, I mean, you know what, Mija, you got our support, like a parents, you got 100% support, from your mom and myself. And it's like, don't worry about it. I say, you don't need anything, nobody, you don't need anything else from nobody. I said, you be good. Everything is good. Everything's going to be fine.
Mia grew up quickly when news came that she was pregnant, and her father says she was ready, already planning to name her future son Sebastian. Was she excited to be a mom?
Yes, yes, she was very excited. She already had clothes for the baby. She went shopping all the time. Because for before, she went to buy makeup and she goes to run to buy makeup. But after she knew she was pregnant, it's like her life turned around to be a mother. But she was ready. She was real, real happy. I mean, she was already 7 months. She was waiting for her baby.
After a day of shopping with her mom, Mia left her family's home late in the evening of July 14th.
But the thing is, that's when she went out the door. It was around 10:30 at night. Why? I still don't got that picture right. Why she left from our house at that time? And I mean, the only thing I can think that Jesus called Mia to, hey, I meet you here. And because if you can see on the camera, Mia leads to the house like she was happy. She was not upset.
Mia's family shared this ring video with me, the last known video of Mia. It shows her leaving the house, and everything seems normal. So when did you start to realize that something was off, when Mia wasn't coming home?
It was probably around, let's say, 10:45. By 11:15, that's when we started worrying. It's like, well, I mean, to go to the country and come back, you're looking maybe not in even 30 minutes. That's when we start calling because I called Mia and she didn't answer. Her mom called Mia, she didn't answer. My son called Mia, she didn't answer. And then we had to call another friend. She was real close with him, and he called her, and still she didn't answer.
Her parents then used an app on Mia's cell phone to track her down.
She's just right here around the corner at my house. So it's like I told my wife, and then I said, you know what, pues let's go look for it. And as soon as we turned to the street, I mean, I didn't see no cars, and it's like, well, but it's not in on the streets. It's like more farther to the inn. So that's when we start getting inside to look for it. But the thing is, when I went to the left side, and Mia, she was carrying to the right side, and that's when we found her.
What is your reaction when you see her there in the woods?
Well, what my reaction was when I saw her on the woods, she was laid down, with her back, and when I saw her face, he was twist to the left side, but he was like on the ground. So when I saw her, it's like, Mia, what's wrong? What's wrong? Wake up! And that's when I grabbed her, her head, and I turned around real slow, and I started, doing CPR, but it was too late. She was already passed away because and then I put the fingers on her neck. I didn't see no pulse, and somehow I cracked the heart hurt and I feel her hands, and she was already cold. So it's like, man, my baby's gone. My first reaction is like, God, I put her in your hands. That was my first reaction because I knew she was already gone. And it was. I can admit, I still got her picture when I found her. And it hurts. It was my baby. It was the last. I got five, and she was the baby.
Early on, Mia's father says he knew it was too late to save his unborn grandson. Was there any thought in your mind that potentially the baby was still alive?
When I was trying to help my daughter, my wife, she went beside me, and she was trying to grab her belly to see if we had any movements to the baby, but everything, it was already, she was done. She was already wet because between I figured between 10:30 to 11:20, 11:25. So he had a window 30-40 minutes, and by the time I found her, it was already 12:15. So you're looking 2 hours between 10:30 to 12:15. I mean, in 2 hours, yeah, I couldn't save her.
Did it go through your mind right away that Mia had been attacked or murdered? Or did you think, oh, maybe there's some sort of medical issue here, that it wasn't foul play?
No, no, because when I saw her, I kind of knew that she got killed. I mean, you can tell right away because Mia, that was nothing wrong with her. I mean, her health, it was 100%. That was nothing wrong with her. So when I saw her, it's like, man, they killed my baby.
The investigation quickly pointed in the direction of 17-year-old Jesus Monroy, the father of Mia's child. Did you ever meet him and talk with him?
Yes, when I found out when Mia, she was pregnant, we had to go and talk to the parents to say, hey, pues, what are you gonna do now since my daughter's pregnant, because your son, and they said, well, according to his father, say, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and take care of everything. You don't have to worry about it. I'm gonna go ahead and take care of the doctor's bills. But it was just only on the beginning. After a while, I I didn't talk to them. They didn't even come to the house to say, hey, how's Mia doing? He never comes around. So for me, they didn't have no relationship at all.
Monroy was arrested in the days after Mia's murder and charged with providing false statements to police about the case. Finally, more than a week after Mia's death, Monroy was charged in her murder. What was your reaction when Jesus was eventually charged with her murder?
I was in shock. I couldn't believe it because supposedly he was the one he's going to take care of my daughter and my grandson. I was in shock. Like my wife, she was in shock too because I mean, we opened the doors, for him because I had a lot of respect for my daughter. That was her wish for him to be part of it, of the baby, And I told Mia so many times, Mia, just walk away. I said, you don't need anybody, but that was her wish, and she was young. So, but I respect that for my daughter.
To understand the charges and what led up to them, I reached out to Georgia-based former federal prosecutor Francie Hakes. He was arrested and charged with lying to police, but the murder charge didn't come until days later. What do you suspect happened during that time?
Well, I have a feeling there was cell phone evidence and or forensic evidence. So we know that her family was able to track her after she went missing by finding her phone, by locating her phone, and that's when they discovered her body. My guess is that almost immediately police started pinging the towers, the cell towers that her phone would have been pinging off of to see, while her phone was pinging on that tower, who else's cell phone was in the same vicinity at the same time period that they probably have already established that she was murdered in. And so I assume that it was only a few days it took them to probably get that cell phone data. And immediately he became a suspect. I suspect they tracked his phone. And that may very well be the evidence that put him at the scene. But there could have been other evidence besides that. Who knows what was on her phone? You know, Laken Riley was able to call 911, although nothing ended up being recorded. But you have to think this day and age, if someone's in danger, they may very well have been able to record something on their phone or call out and record to 911. So we don't know what sort of evidence there might be of that. But I have a feeling it was, given the speed with which they did it, it wouldn't have been something like DNA. I have a feeling it had to do with cell phone tracking data.
Monroy now faces charges of malice murder, felony murder, feticide, and aggravated assault. Now, some of the charges he faces are malice murder and felony murder. Can you explain the difference there or why he may be charged with both?
Yeah, in Georgia, those are just alternative counts. They really carry the exact same penalty. They can each be as much as life in prison or even the death penalty, but they have slightly different elements that are required to be proven. And malice murder requires premeditation. That's really all that's meant here in Georgia with malice. Now, malice doesn't mean bad intent or meanness. All it really means is that you formed premeditation before you committed the murder. And premeditation in Georgia can be formed in an instant. It's not something that involves a lot of planning. It just means you intended to kill. Felony murder, you don't have to prove, prosecutors don't have to prove that someone intended to kill, only that they intended to commit the felony that caused the death. And so there would have been some kind of assault or battery that took place. I believe the police have said that she was asphyxiated or strangled. And if that's the case, that was an aggravated battery and or an aggravated assault. And those are both felonies. And either of those two felonies can serve as the predicate for felony murder. So all the prosecutor has to prove is that the offender intended to commit that felony and the death resulted.
So you said malice murder requires premeditation, but it could almost be instantaneous in the state of Georgia. But what I'm seeing from some of the things, the reports, are that she was lured away from her home, which to me sounds like definite premeditation. So not just instantaneous, but it sounds a little more planned out. What do you make of that?
Well, unfortunately, it would not shock me if that was the case. If this offender, if it is her ex-boyfriend, I know he's just the suspect, so it's just an allegation at this point, but if her ex-boyfriend, and I understand from the family that he was the father of the child, if that is the case, it is unfortunately not shocking that he might have premeditatedly planned a murder simply because she was pregnant. And in Georgia, as in every state in this country, he would have been required to take care of that child and pay child support for the child for most of the child's life anyway, at least until the child turned 18. And sometimes with evil people, let's be honest, there are evil people in this world. Sometimes with evil people, that kind of obligation is enough to be a motive for murder.
But on top of Mia's murder, Monroy is also accused of murdering her unborn child. That charge is what's known as feticide.
And it requires that the person intend the death of the mother. And with felony murder, certainly with malice murder, I think you have that. I think it's easy. It's these elements of the feticide crime are not that hard to prove in a circumstance like this when she's 7 months pregnant, when apparently he's the father, and when you're talking about strangulation was the cause of death. It's not like it was a car accident or something incidental that could be taken to be a crime of passion, for example. So feticide is not that difficult to prove, I think, here. And in Georgia, it carries life in prison. So this suspect is looking at an awful lot of time in jail. And I hope that charges soon come that are reflective of the age of this young mother. This young woman, Mia Campos, was a child. She was only 16. So the very fact that she was pregnant means that her adult boyfriend committed a crime. Minimum, it was statutory rape. And so I would like to see some of those charges added as well.
Investigators haven't revealed much about Mia's murder, except the cause of her death. We talked about how it has been reported that she was killed by asphyxiation, so strangulation. And to me, that seems pretty intimate. I mean, a lot of the cases I cover include gunshot wounds or a stab wound, but the asphyxiation, if somebody is actually physically strangling them, it's a physicality. It's very intimate between these two people and doesn't happen instantaneously. Is this something that prosecutors would potentially highlight if and when this comes to trial?
Well, if I'm the DA on the case, I used to be an assistant DA way back in the day, and if I'm the ADA on this case, I am standing in front of the jury in closing arguments, and I am going to be silent for the entire amount of time it typically takes for someone to be strangled, which is not instant. It does not happen quickly. It's not 30 seconds. It's not a minute. It takes several minutes to strangle someone, to cut off their air long enough that they actually die. Because even if you cut off their air, if you let go, they may very well revive. And so it is a very intimate, a very personal, a very violent, and a very rageful method of murder.
On top of this, Mia's family says Monroy helped them in the search for Mia. Where was Jesus during all of this? Was he helping in the search for her or just completely absent?
No, he was with me when we went try to find Mia, and then when I saw Mia, I ran right away and I tried to grab her, but he moved at least 18 feet away from Mia. But he was just standing right there. I didn't see no emotions. I didn't see no anger. I didn't see no crying. And I was like, something's not right here. But I didn't say anything because I didn't want for him to say, hey, pues he noticed that, I'm cold blooded. So I was like, on time. So I was just, everything on me was on time, on time. So it's like, no, I'm gonna chill out. I'm not gonna get angry. I'm trying for mine to survive. But I had a bad feeling that he had something to do with it.
Does that add a layer here that he was helping in the search but is likely the one who killed her?
That is such terrible classic offender behavior. It's almost serial killery, really, but it's pretty common. If you think back to all the cases where moms have claimed something happened to their kids, or dads have claimed something happened to their kids, Susan Smith comes to mind. She's getting ready to get out of prison, and she murdered her young children 20 some years ago by driving her car into a lake and letting them drown. Well, she blamed it on some other person that she said had kidnapped them and murdered her children. And she did police and public interviews begging for anyone with information to come forward. And so this reminds me at least a little bit of that. I think that these offenders believe that if they appear to be cooperative and the public thinks they're helping, that they will allay any suspicion against them. Obviously, it didn't work.
Mia's family said Monroy had strong feelings about becoming a father, but there's no clear motive in Mia's murder. Did you have any inclination or idea that he was upset that Mia was pregnant?
It looks like he was upset because I didn't think he was ready for it. Because they had a little problem before, but I don't think he was ready for it because that's what he showed me. Some kids like they're happy. Well, I'm gonna be a father. It's gonna be my first baby. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. Not him. He was just cold all the time.
Do you have any idea why he would have killed her?
No, no, not really. And that's the question that I want to ask. And matter of fact, we went to the court yesterday morning, but I mean, he doesn't have court yet until probably the 14th or the 16th August. So I gotta wait into then. And I put a request that I like to talk to him, at least to say why. But I don't think I'll be able to talk to him at all.
Right now, he's just accused of the crime, has not been convicted as of yet. But do you believe he is the one who killed your daughter?
Yes, yes, I believe. I believe so 100% because everything it was so weird. Everything happened so fast that I mean, who could have done it? You know, who could have done it? Because Mia, she doesn't have no enemies. She was a sweet girl.
Right now, and for the foreseeable future, Monroy is being held at Gwinnett County Jail. Right now, he's being held without bond. Do you think that's appropriate, that there's no way for him to be released, at least at this time?
It is. I'm kind of an old fashioned prosecutor. I think that when you're charged with something that serious and where potentially there's even evidence of more premeditation than just in an instant, that is, he lured her out of the house, that makes him dangerous. And it makes him also facing this kind of time, these sentences, including potentially the death penalty, that makes him a flight risk as well. And so I'm glad they're holding him without bond.
Meanwhile, Mia's family says they will continue to follow Monroy's case and spread the word about their daughter's story.
Mia is part of my life, and I know she's behind me 100%. You know, me and her mom. You know, but yeah, on the end, I said, I mean, somebody's got to do it. Like I said, we got to get a message to the parents that after it's not safe.
Right now, Mia's murder is still under investigation. Anyone with more information is asked to contact the Gwinnett County Police Department. Reporting for Law&Crime, I'm Sierra Gillespie.